This is Tony, and I'm going to take you from Antarctica to the King James Bible and show you what or how it is related. I will be using the King James Bible as a historical document and not a religious or a spiritual teaching or any type of doctrine. Most of us have seen these pyramidal shapes all through Antarctica, and there is quite a bit of debate about them. Some people say, or one side says that they're pyramids, the other side says it's a natural erosion process, which it does occur. But when you go and you look at these tetrahedron shapes, they're almost perfect. Now, I've posted actually, I did a series on Antarctica, and I showed where a lot of these structures have some type of metal or some type of framework, and then they're covered with stone. But because these images have been ossificated and blended into these pictures, so they're really not noticeable or hard to locate, they can be debatable. So I took some time out a few months back, and I wanted to find the perfect structure that could not be debatable, and for once and all prove that there was at one time a ancient city or cities in Antarctica. And then finally I found it. I'm going to take this image here, I'm going to push it back and darken it so we can see it a little bit better. And when I found this image, the debate came to an end. There was a city, most of it's under ice. There's a few places where these structures are visible, but we'll never really get to see them they're in their entirety or in total clarity. This one, you can tell it's a pyramid. It's not debatable. And originally, as you notice, it's tilted up. Originally, I thought maybe the back of this structure had deteriorated and collapsed and flipped this up. Well, I got this comment from Cheeky Monkeys, and it says, "Great analysis, Tony. The catastrophe that hit this civilization must have been beyond belief. To displace a structure such as this would have taken a tsunami of epic proportions or something akin to atomic blast." So I went back and looked at it 2 or 3 more times, and actually he is correct. If you notice how it's tilted up, this pyramid is 3 miles wide. So this is a huge structure. The foundation, well, it was attached to is right here, and then on the pyramid, as you notice at the base, how this is hanging off, this was part of the base that it was connected to. This pyramid is excess of 30 million years old, and that timeline came from the scientific reports say that this area was a subtropical area, a forested area, and then about 40 million years ago Antarctica froze over. So all this stuff was built before there was any ice ever there, or the region was even cold. But when you go back and you look here, you can see these geometric square forms. This was either a city built underneath this pyramid or some type of facility. But if you look right here, this structure, which is bent, which means it's metal, is holding up this pyramid. So that means that even if a force could push it back, it would take a tremendous amount of force to push it up on the structure and make it bend with it. So yes, there was some type of tremendous force. And then if you think about it, there has to be, with a civilization as big as it was in Antarctica, there has to be some type of writings about this. And actually, There is. And one of the amazing places is in the King James Bible in Genesis. So we're going to go over and look at Genesis 1, and then right here is where we're going to start. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Within the Christian community, there's been a debate going on for decades, and it's called the gap theory. And what the gap theory is, it's between chapter 1, sentence 1 and 2. And the best way to explain it is in this first sentence, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth," which means everything was in a perfect state. And then in the second sentence, all of a sudden we see earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. One side of the camp says that this means that the earth was in a primordial state and the formation of the formation of our planet. And then the other side says that there was a pre-Adamic society. So when I was researching in Hebrew, I noticed these key words like earth and form and void and darkness and deep. These words were never opened up, or what I mean by that, they were never interpreted. So I went in to the concordance, and here's some of the interpretation. Earth means at large, which means a small part of a larger piece of land. This one also means a partial piece of land. And then the word form means desolation and to lie waste. And then void means undistinguishable ruins. Then you have darkness, means misery, destruction, and death. Then you got deep, sudden rushing of water, and also can mean surging mass of water from the abyss. And this is actually how it should have been translated. So what the second sentence is saying, that there was a pre-Adamic civilization on this planet. So I know this is not perfect, but I interpret it as close as I could of possibly how it should have been interpreted. And this is what it says. The world lie waste and in desolation. The ruins are undistinguishable. There's destruction, misery, and death in that nation. And then there was a surging mass of water from the abyss. So now we know that the force that could pick up a megalithic pyramid that's 3 miles wide and push it over on a metal structure, we now know that it was caused by something that went on with water. Some type of mass of water came up from the ground. And that's all the information that we have on it in Genesis. If you think about it, this is really remarkable. We have the first modern civilization on Earth that, for the most part, is preserved under the ice in Antarctica. Now, there is certain places where you can still see these structures. This one was taken in I believe this was taken in the dry McMurdo Valley area. And that area hasn't had snow or rain in over 2 million years. And it's extremely cold and dry there. So this is perfect conditions to slow down the erosion and deterioration rate of some of these megalithic structures. The ancients, the cities and civilizations that came after this, they knew about this destruction. And in fact, Jeremiah, when he's talking to the nation of Israel because they were falling away from God, he talks about that civilization, letting them know that their civilization can be destroyed as easily as that one was. And so this is what he says. And I looked at the earth, and it was formless and empty. I looked to the heavens, they had no light. I looked at the mountains, and behold, they were quaking, and the hills were swaying. So there was plenty of warning before whatever happened, this destruction. And then he continues to say, I looked, and no man was left. So it appears that a lot of the people did leave when these warning signs occurred. And of course, all the birds of the sky had fled. And as you know, especially during earthquakes, animals start or before earthquakes, animals start disappearing. And then he talks right here, and he says, and all its cities were torn down. So the destruction was massive. And then Peter says, he's talking to the believers, and you have to really go into the scripture, but he's giving them some encouragement, and he's talking to them. He says, and not spared the old world, which means the ancient world or the first world, but saved Noah and the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. Then he goes back and talks about that pre-Adamic civilization and explains that whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. So even back in the biblical days, everybody knew about this. So this information was pulled at some time in the past for whatever reason. And now it's actually coming to light. Okay, everyone. Thanks for watching. If I get a good response on this, I'll do a part 2, which would be the second pre-Adamic civilization, and then about Adam and Eve. Okay, y'all. Thanks for watching. This is Tony with Earth Files Earth History, signing out.